You're listening to Boobies and Newbies. Happy holidays, everybody, and welcome to a special holiday edition of Boobies and Newbies, the podcast that asks novice romance readers to think outside the dick in a box and brave the unbridled world of erotica. I'm your host, Kelly Reynolds, and today's romance review marks the 9th episode in Boobies and Newbies' annual holiday special, The 12 Days of Boobsmas. I hope everybody is enjoying Boobsmas thus far, and don't worry if you've missed a few episodes along the way. You can always catch up on our website, boobiesandnewbies.com, as well as your favorite podcast app. The Boobsmas giveaway opportunities have already wrapped for the season, but the best way to keep up with all of our upcoming episodes and news is to follow us across the social media channels at Boobies Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and the artist formerly known as Twitter, and at Real Kelly Ray on TikTok. I'll also be hosting IG Lives every Friday in December to announce the next batch of Boobsmas giveaway winners, and the last one is happening this Friday evening. A couple final pieces of business before we get started. Beginning with a shameless plug for my holiday romances, Meet Me in Los Feliz and Venice Actually, both of which are available in Kindle Unlimited. And lastly, if you feel like making this podcaster's holidays merry and bright, and only if you have the means to do so, you might consider leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. You can also join the Boobies and Newbies Patreon family for as little as $1 a month and have instant access to bonus podcast clips, our monthly Boobies Unlimited book club, and so much more. As always, you will find links for all of the above in today's show notes as well as on our website. And now, on to today's Boobsmas festivities. For the 9th day of Boobsmas, we're talking about childhood friends, to lovers, to ex-friends, to competing Santas, to lovers again, plus a whole lot of Santa in between. Joining me for the 9th day of Boobsmas is one of my favorite bookstagrammers, Amanda. You will find Amanda's romance recs and roundup lists on Instagram at talkaboutswoon. If you're not following her already, be sure to do so ASAP because I guarantee it'll be the gift that truly keeps on giving. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for having me again.
Oh, I'm always happy to chat with you. And honestly, I think this book was the perfect book for us to read because you just put out another Santa romance roundup list the other day.
Correct. This one could not have been more perfect.
And I think actually you were the one who brought this book to my attention because, as I said, I follow Amanda, and I think you had shared maybe the cover reveal for this book or your excitement to read this book on your Instagram, and I messaged you and said, well, hey, let's do it.
Yeah, it was too perfect. Yeah, I think that's what it was, is somehow I stumbled onto the cover reveal, and it would have been an immediate buy, honestly, from the cover alone for me. But then when I, saw all the little trope map that the author put out, and I was like, oh my God, that sounds perfect.
Yeah, I agree. This would have been one that had I found on my own, I would have wanted to read anyway, but it just worked out this way. I say this all the time on the Boobsmas episodes, but I start planning the books we're going to read for the 12 Days of Boobsmas back in like September. And the thing that always gets me is I will have a full list. I will have 12 books picked out, ready to go. And then someone will drop a cover like this one. And I'll think, well, shit, we have to read this one. And then it'll happen again and again. And there's no way. There's only 12 days. There's only 12 days.
Yeah.
I can't do them all, but this was one that made its way in a little bit later into the fold. So, but I'm happy I found it nonetheless.
Yeah.
Well, I know that this is your first 12 Days of Boobsmas episode here with me. And just so you know, along with talking about holiday romance, we also like to celebrate some of our favorite holiday traditions, memories, yummies, whatever it might be. So, what's one of your favorite ways to celebrate during the holiday season?
I know, I've been thinking about this today. Definitely, I mean, it might sound silly, but like decorating. I really
Oh, I'm
love
with you.
decorating.
The tree, the house, like what, just
Yeah,
everything?
everything. Like everything in my house sort of gets a changeover at Christmas. I have like
Yes.
5 tubs of Christmas decorations, and my
I'm
teenage daughter
jealous.
is just like me. Like, I was really into doing this when I was a teenager, and she's the same way. So we bring them up, and like everything gets taken off the walls and replaced with Christmas. All the things on the shelves
Yes.
get like an update. All the candles get switched out, and yeah, I love it. And a lot of these decorations, I've had my whole adult life, or some of them even came from
Mm.
my own childhood. Like, we have this Christmas village with these little like ceramic houses that my daughter
Everybody
sets
has
up every
some
year.
kind of village, like
Yeah.
there's always a village, and
Yep.
sometimes it's like a nativity scene, sometimes it's like the little old-timey almost like Victorian era village that one
Yeah.
of my friends has one like that.
Yeah.
My mom and I actually started one a few years ago that's more of a it's like they're like vintage campers. So we have like a few
Ah,
campers and cars.
I love that. I would love that.
There's so much variety.
Yeah.
In fact, shout out to one of my favorite people that I interact with on TikTok, who's actually like an avid reader of mine, so I appreciate her immensely. But she, Honor, she's been doing these TikTok video, I guess like collages almost, where it's all what's your Christmas vibe? What's
Oh,
your
I love
holiday
that.
vibe?
I love
And
that.
then it'll pan to like a bunch of pictures. And it's really amazing how many she's been able to come up with, because there really are so many different vibes. Like some people go very classic, white and gold and
Yeah.
silver, and some
Yeah.
people go more towards the blues. And
Yeah.
I've gone full on Barbie pink pastel
I
this
love
year.
that.
What's your vibe?
Mine
Or is
is
it
very, I would say it's very retro. Like,
okay?
very, very MCM. Just
Love
like a
that.
lot of the decor that I have. Like, this like very vintage looking Rudolph, and like bottle brush trees. I have bottle brush
Oh,
trees
I love
everywhere.
bottle brush trees.
Our tree is like a white flocked tree. So yeah, it's very
Mm,
MCM, very colorful, like a lot of like red and
yes.
turquoise and lime green, and I don't know. I love lots
I
and lots
love
of
that.
color.
Yeah, it's giving
Yeah.
Palm Springs. I
Totally.
which I
Yes.
love. Now you mentioned bottle brush trees, but do you have any butt plug trees?
Yes, I do.
I bought my first butt plug trees this year. In fact, I found the first two at Goodwill of all places, because
That's amazing.
the Goodwill near me is poppin'. Like, I love the Goodwill by me. They always have so much good stuff,
Yeah.
including a fantastic book collection, which I was
Ooh,
very
nice.
impressed by. But
Yeah.
yeah, so go Goodwill.
Yeah. Love that. Another big decor thing for us is nutcrackers. We have a lot of
Oh,
nutcrackers. Like, my mantle is just nutcrackers, because that was like a hyperfixation of my daughter's when she was younger, and we
amazing.
would buy one every year, and we have a lot of nutcrackers.
Nutcrackers? I mean, it's silly to say, but nutcrackers crack me up. Like, and
I know.
it's because my memory that I associate with nutcrackers, we've never been a nutcracker family. Not that we have,
Oh,
we're
okay.
not anti-nutcracker by any means. I think, like you and your daughter, my mom and I are definitely the ones who love to put stuff out at Christmas. And my dad
Yeah.
is all about the tree. So he couldn't care less about anything else that's going on in the house. It's, why, look at my tree. Did you see this
Yeah.
ornament on my tree? So he's definitely like limited how much we're allowed to like have in the house over the years.
Okay.
But now that I live
Okay.
on my own, I'm like, well, fuck that. I'm buying as much as I want. And
Yeah.
one of my best friends, though, I stayed the night at his house after Thanksgiving one year. And this was his parents' house. And the next morning at 6 a.m., I was awoken by his mother putting nutcrackers up in the like window above the sliding glass doors to their yard because unbeknownst to me, she has a collection. And it was like the minute the Thanksgiving was over, okay, 6 a.m. Nutcrackers gotta go up. Like, this is how we start Christmas. So that was a fun way to start the holidays that year.
That. We're essentially the same way. In fact, my daughter couldn't, normally it's the day after Thanksgiving, but my daughter couldn't wait this year. She put it all up on November 1st.
Yay!
And my husband was so anti that.
He always doesn't
like or care about any of this, but also he was raised like in a kind of a weird, like, fundamentalist Christian. They didn't celebrate any holidays, including Christmas. So this is all a little bit like, he doesn't really get it.
Yeah.
He doesn't really get it.
That's okay. I feel like there's always somebody in every family that's just kind of, so that's okay. Unlike the romance novel that would include that, where you would then, like, make him love Christmas.
Right.
I respect the folks who aren't as into it.
Totally.
I definitely want to see some pictures of your decor. Maybe we'll share a few on the socials for people to see, at least of the butt plug trees, because not everybody got to see the demonstration that I got. Yeah. It was like show and tell.
I'll have to do a little tour.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I think that is the perfect way to segue into today's reading selection. And Amanda and I are discussing The Santa Pageant by Lillian Berry. And this book was published in November this year, 2023. It's available for $3.50 Kindle edition. And I could be wrong, but is this Lillian's debut publication?
It is, I believe. Yeah, I believe it is.
That is so exciting. I think we've had a few reads this year on Boobsmas where the author has had maybe like a novella or one other book out before, but I think this is our first Boobsmas debut.
And like, how ambitious. Like, I kept reading that and thinking like, wow, she really, or they, I think they go by they.
I think she uses all pronouns.
They. All pronouns, yeah. They really knocked it out. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people will sort of toe dip with a novella.
Yeah. No. Lillian dove right in with this one. Yeah. So, kudos. Major kudos for that. Yeah. Let me give everyone the synopsis for The Santa Pageant, and then Amanda and I will dive into our discussion. So, here we go. 10 years ago, best friends Effie and Tove kissed in the bushes at Winter Ball and then stood there like lemons, as if they weren't crushing on each other so hard it hurt. In the confusion, their friendship fizzled and Tove walked into the sunset with some guy who had nice hair. I'm sorry. I have to say, just like, and there's more to the synopsis that I will get back to, but I think what's really, really great about this book is that I could tell as an American reader and writer that I was reading a book written by somebody not from the United States because of like some of the lingo that they used.
Yeah, it was so unapologetically British and I loved it.
And in fact, it would even be not just like words and phrases, it would be like the manner in which they were delivered sometimes, because
absolutely.
They would just say something like, "Oh, well, because you're not funny." And I'm like, "Oh shit." Like, no beating around the bush with that one. Like so straightforward, to the point.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I just had to point that out because I think some of that is, I mean, just the tone in the synopsis alone is fantastic. Oh, here you go. Now a cocksure. See, I mean, there it is again. Now a cocksure 25-year-old with secretly appalling self-esteem. Effie enters the Santa of the Year pageant to prove to her unsupportive family that Santa could, in fact, be a lesbian. Just love this so much.
I know.
Enter Tove, the grumpiest Santa in the grotto, back on the island after a harrowing breakup with nice hair guy and using the pageant to reconnect with the world. As the pageant eliminates Santa after Santa, Effie and Tove clash over their past, the kiss that drove them apart, and the fears the last 10 years have etched into their worldviews. Effie must let go of others' opinions and learn to love herself, and Tove must move forward despite there being no guarantee they won't be hurt again, or they risk losing each other a second time. I have to say, as far as synopses go, I think that's a really well written synopsis that doesn't give away too much.
No,
like there's been a few that I've read lately where it's like when you watch a trailer for a movie and you feel like you saw the whole movie.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I feel like
that was a great synopsis.
Well done. Well done. Okay, well, I'll put it to you first because I know you said that you were super into this cover alone, but also when you saw the tropes, you were super excited to read it. So what about the story, the tropes, the characters, stood out to you most?
I loved the disability rep. She talked about, like, before I read it, I knew that there was going to be PCOS rep and neurodivergent rep as well. Definitely Tove had some mental illness that they were working through in therapy. Effie basically has undiagnosed ADHD, which gets discussed a bit. I was really excited about that. I was originally, this book for me, I considered to put on, like I said, my annual Santa romance list. And I was excited that it was sapphic. You don't get a lot of sapphic Santa type books. Super excited about the non-binary rep.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's so different. I've never read anything like it. I've never read anything like it. And it turned out to be even more than I thought it was going to be going in.
Yeah, I will say one of my favorite tropes in general is grumpy sunshine, right? Like and I think it works so well during holidays.
Those other things I mentioned aren't exactly tropes.
But I mean micro like we put them in a lot of the marketing for books and everything. Like I did the same thing. I had PCOS rep in my book. I had anxiety rep. So I was gonna make sure that it was clear that people know. I know it's not a trope, but
no, I know what you're saying. But and the grumpy sunshine was done so well. Like,
yes,
Tove was kind of a bitch.
Yes,
at first, it's like before you really got into their head,
right?
I was like, why are you so mean?
Well, and then one of my favorite things about Grumpy Sunshine is that I feel like usually with the Sunshine character, there's still a lot of inner demons and pain and darkness that's inside. Not always, but I do think that a lot of Sunshine characters we read, they project this level of happiness and sunshine and carefree attitudes. And it's because they're covering something else. Yeah. And so I didn't realize like how deep we were going to go into that, and I think that was a great way to explore that character. So
absolutely. And also I love Second Chance. And I love Friends to Lovers, and I love Second Chance. I know that a lot of people don't like either of those tropes, let alone both of them together. But I really do. I really do.
Neither of those are my favorite, but it's because I have caveats attached to them. Like something like this where they were friends years ago, or it was years ago, and now they're getting their second chance. I'm completely fine with that. I just don't like when the second chance is like less than a year after whatever happened between them.
Totally. And like this one, these long drawn out second chances, like a decade or more, are to me chef's kiss. Like so good. The person that you could not stop thinking about for years and years and years. And being that in this case, it wasn't even that, they had an established relationship, there was a breakup, and now they've gotten back together. It was just a kiss. And then it was 10 years of wondering what could have been, and I love that.
And it's a really interesting relationship in that I feel like a lot of us have had that friendship with somebody that we've also kind of had an attraction to, but you didn't want to ruin the friendship by
totally
doing something or saying something because you were worried it would happen like this, that you would have this kiss and, oh my God, they like me too. And then not only...
And then it gets weird.
Yeah, not only does nothing happen between you, but you lose your friendship entirely. Like, that's like the greatest fear.
Yeah. Going into it, I was very excited for those things. Yeah. And also just like, reading through the synopsis, I chuckled like several times. Just, she's so funny. Like, Lillian's voice is so funny to me. It took me a couple of chapters to really like get into it. I feel like she has a pretty distinct writing style.
Oh, I agree.
It took me a little bit to get into it. And I think that it's because like the jokes are not hurled at you, which I love. But at first, you have to kind of, I don't know. It took me some time to get it, but when I did, I really loved.
Humor is also so subjective, and
it is.
And what works for some people is not going to work for everybody. And so I will say, I am with you. I love subtle humor. I love, because it's smart to me. I don't love just like laugh out loud, hit you over the head with the joke kind of humor.
Right.
So Lillian's humor worked for me. I will say, I do think there are some people who probably this won't jive for, but I think you could say the same thing for any book,
absolutely.
Any piece of comedy.
right. No, and it's that's so true. That's true with comedy of all kinds. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like comedy movies that are that way either. You know what I mean? This turned out to be really perfect for me. You know?
I was also, it took me a while, and then I went back and I read Lillian's author bio to like clear it up a little bit, hoping that it would clear it up for me a bit, because I went through most of the book thinking, oh, they're in the UK, like they're in like a small town in England, and then I know that there was mention of them being on an island, but at one point I think Effie or Effie's sister says to her like, oh, we didn't think like you were gonna come back from the UK, and I was like, wait a second, I'm sorry, where are we? And in Lillian's bio, they say that they're a Channel Islander by childhood, and they currently live in Ireland. And so then I had to look up the Channel Islands and try to figure out, because it is technically, I think, part of like the English municipality, or I don't know what the term
like
would be.
Mainland UK, is that it?
Right.
Maybe?
And so I wonder if like they just kind of consider themselves like not a part of the United Kingdom, but because then I was like, am I supposed to be imagining this in a different place? Like, I'm not sure. So but that was my own mind playing tricks on me and trying to figure out where these people were. I do love that it was on an island, though, because this is the same reason why I wrote my holiday romances in Los Angeles, is I love to see holiday romances in different places and see how different countries, cultures celebrate the holidays. Like, I remember reading, I think it was Carla de Guzman's book a few years ago that took place in the Philippines during Christmas. And I've read one that takes place in Hawaii during Christmas. And it's just always fun to see something that's not what we traditionally associate with being a winter wonderland.
Totally.
I mean, I know that you live outside of Chicago, and I lived in Chicago, and I don't think it snowed for Christmas the 2 years that I lived there.
It's hit or miss. I mean, it's definitely like, the timing is right. Like, climate wise, it's prime time to have a white Christmas, but it's just, you either get lucky or you don't. We have a white Christmas probably once or twice a decade.
Yeah. In fact, there was one the year that I was living in Minneapolis, but I had gone home. So I was like, well, there you go. I missed my one chance.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm not that upset about it. I like it in theory.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
And if you don't have to go anywhere. So
right.
I will say, as a side plot, I actually really did enjoy the sister dynamic that was like explored. I mean, there was a lot about family in general, but I liked what the arc that Effie and her sister had to go through. And I like that eventually it came to, this moment where Effie basically hits her with, all the things that are on her mind that she, feels aren't, her sister's not honoring, and her sister is,
Right.
maybe even just making not intentionally snide comments about, but doing
Right.
it nonetheless, and it hurts.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
also like that her sister was able to say, okay, I hear you, but at the same time, I feel like I'm also not getting some of the things that I need. And
Yeah.
I think that was good, that there was like some give or take there, and for both of them to
Yeah.
realize that neither one of them is perfect, and
Right.
that they both apologized, which was great.
That was one thing. Gosh, that was like one theme that I felt like was throughout the book with all of the characters, even a lot of the side characters, and that is this like, what do you need?
Mm-hmm.
Like, figure out what you need and like ask for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, like so many of the characters had to do a lot of like, deep dives and soul searching to find out what that was. And I thought it was really cool.
Well, and I think that's an important thing to touch on too, because I do think it's very important. And I think we have these conversations a lot, especially around, interestingly enough, around the idea of consent. And
Yeah.
how we tell people you need to ask them what they need. You need to ask them how you can help them, how you can,
Right.
what it is
Right.
that they need that you can help fulfill. But I think the thing that we don't also add to that conversation enough is that you need to also be thinking about what you need. That in
Yeah.
order for, if you want your partner, your family to ask, what do you need and how can I help give this to you? You need to also have an answer. You need to have
Right.
something that you've thought about. You have to have done some introspection to say, I need this. I need X, Y, and Z, rather than just,
Yeah.
I don't know, you should know what I need and give it to me.
Yes. Very, very true. Also, I loved her niece so much. Like,
The precocious 7-year-old.
yes, she was one of my favorite characters. She made me laugh so much. She was so many things, and it's also so accurate. Like, that she's not necessarily how my daughter was at age 7, but I know that little girl. Okay, I
Uh-huh.
do. I've met her, and she was just so smart and so like
Yes.
wise beyond her years. Oh my god,
Yes.
I loved her so much.
What, and you know what was interesting was wise but not jaded at the same time.
No,
Like, she
no,
very much was like, what do I want? I want to be able to make everybody happy. Oh, that's so sweet. You want everybody to be happy. No.
she's like,
I
no,
want to
I
be
want to
able
do it.
to make them happy because I want
Yeah,
the credit for it.
yeah, yeah. She cracked me up.
I know. I I love that. And I did think it was interesting, when Effie points out to her sister that, hey, your daughter is doing certain things that make me feel
Yeah,
bad as well. And she's like, well,
yeah,
she's 7. Like, what do you expect? But at the same time, you're her parent. She's going to
yes,
look at things that you say and do and think
yeah.
that they're okay, because that's how it works.
But no, she was great. And I liked Tove's brother as well.
I did too. And I thought that
Yeah.
what was so fun to me was the contrast between their families, because
Yeah.
Tove's brother and their mother was, I mean, they were so happy, so,
Yeah.
just, not idyllic, but just like they very much like focus on the positives and
Yeah.
encourage Tove, and Tove is
Right.
the
Well, and just
grumpus.
like right, and there's just like a lot of unconditional like love and support
Yes.
really within Tove's family. Like I was shocked when Tove admitted that like they hadn't told anyone in their family what happened
Right.
between them and their ex. They didn't even know and they
Right.
didn't even ask.
Yeah.
It was just like, well, you're here, you need us, we're here for you.
Yeah, we don't need to know
And
the details unless you
yeah,
want to share
and
them.
that was incredible.
Again, it's always, I love when you get to see, especially in holiday romance and Christmas romance, I think there's so much emphasis on family, and
Yeah.
I think I think it's great to see some examples of, loving, supporting families. Obviously the thing that
Mhm.
we would all aspire to have, but I think it's also okay to show that not everybody has that
No.
incredible
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
And there's a contrast between Effie's family and Tove's family for sure.
Totally. totally. Yeah, Effie's parents are not great.
No.
Not great.
Not the best indeed. I have high hopes for her relationship with her sister and
Absolutely.
their family. So,
Mhm.
well, we also have to talk a little bit about the spiciness of this book, which
Okay.
was fun.
I did not know going into this, I didn't know what to expect.
I didn't
Believe me,
either.
I actually scoured the author's posts and things that she said about the book, and it's really not alluded to anywhere. And I even scoured through reviews
Right.
to get an idea, and no one said anything. And I was
Well,
like, okay.
and it takes, by my Kindle, it takes 68% of the book to get to their, first spicy scene together.
Yeah.
And that's, by the time you reach a certain percentage, you kind of think to yourself, oh, okay, well, maybe it's just not gonna,
Yeah.
maybe it's not
Yeah.
gonna happen in this book. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a nice little surprise. And honestly, it was a pretty long scene too.
Yeah, it was. I was surprised. And I love a book that because I was like pretty convinced by that point. I was like, yeah, I think maybe it's going to be closed door, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I didn't know going into it.
Well, and not only was it not closed door, but I mean, we get like a face writing scene. We get a strap on scene. Like, I mean,
Yep.
it was
Yep.
it was a long scene in the best way possible.
Agreed. It was great. Very well done.
I have a specific excerpt from it that I would like to share because as I think this is such a good example of Lillian's writing tone and style, because I feel like I get some of the British out of this, but I also just get, because it's all dialogue, but it's so to the point. It's just so straightforward and like, let me tell you what I like about you.
Yeah.
So this is right after Tove just rode like Effie's face, right? And this is like before the strap-on scene. So it starts with, so Effie said expectantly, how was it? I feel like I should be asking you that. And then this is what I love. I'll tell you. You're perfect. Your clit feels like a cherry drop made for licking and sucking that tastes sweet as sugar and fresh as fruit. I think your labia love me. They'll simply undress at my touch. Your vagina is a work of art. It is a pleasure to be sat on by you, Tove. I enjoyed every moment. Thank you.
That's so good.
I'm just like, what a monologue. What a monologue, like start to finish.
Yes.
Thank you. I imagine her bowing at the end of it.
I love Effie so much.
Did you have a particular passage you wanted to share?
I do. I'm trying to find it really quick because you know me. I'm gonna have to go with the cottonmouth scene.
Oh, yeah, duh.
Yeah, gonna have to.
Which, by the way, we brought up on a previous episode of Boobsmas this year, and I made a mental note.
Oh, yeah, with Esther.
With Esther, and Esther had said in the episode, this was the first day of Boobsmas, Esther said, I look forward to the 12 days of Boobsmas every year, and I look forward to Cottonmouth March Madness every year.
Aww.
And I made the mental note to mention it to you. So there you go.
I love that. I love that. Thank you, Esther.
So good.
So, yeah. So the Cottonmouth scene in this book was great.
A potential nominee, perhaps, for
definitely
next March.
This definitely one. I don't usually try to enter anything myself, but I will if I have to. Like,
great,
because it has to be like an even number, and so if I end up at an odd number, I'll throw in some. Okay. Someone's excited. Effie tucked their tits. Okay. Just, so preface this a little bit. If you remember, they were making out against a car in the car park, which I believe that's like a parking deck. Is it, or is it just a parking lot?
So
I actually don't know.
In my mind, I was just picturing like a gravel parking lot because Effie talks about how they're getting rained on, like while she and Tove are out there, and so it's open, right?
No, you're right. It is okay. So it's a parking lot. They're it's at night. They're making out against a car. Effie pulls Tobe's tits out. And then, let's see, Effie tucked their tits back into their jacket and hefted them higher, pinning them to the car with their legs wide open. Her arms were stirrups for their thighs, her gaze undressing them from the bottom up. This cool? She asked. Yeah, they panted. She dived between their legs, kissing and sucking. Tove pulsed into her buried face, leaking through their trousers or not. She was wetting their crotch from the outside. And then I'm skipping a little bit. No, I'll just keep going. Her eyes darted up every now and then, and Tove hung on to the sight of her cheekbones perfectly framed by the V of their legs. They leaned back against the driver's seat window, elbows on the top of the car. Fuck Effie. A kiss that started out of something close to spite had turned into a fully clothed face fuck against a car.
Good sentence.
I loved that scene.
Good sentence.
Yes.
Oh God, yeah, no, that's a good. I think that's a great nominee for Cottonmouth March Madness.
I agree. Sometimes they don't always work because it's like with missing context. You know, the entries can only be so long, and sometimes with missing context, I can't make it work. But I thought that was a good one. I really loved that scene.
Yeah, I really liked how they talked about like who's in charge kind of thing. And,
yeah,
like, what
that was really interesting.
That was a great conversation because not only do you have a sapphic romance, but one of the main characters is non-binary. And so they have a discussion the first time they, right after the scene that I shared when Effie's talking about how her clit's like a peach sucking candy or whatever, they talk about like, I didn't know what our like dynamic was going to be, or like what you like to, do you like to dominate in the bedroom and be in charge? Do you like somebody to dominate you? And so it is kind of nice that we have a few scenes where they really do take turns, being in charge and giving the other person and focusing entirely on the other person's pleasure, which I thought was great.
So well done. That was such a little saucy surprise, I feel like.
Yes.
I really wasn't expecting it, and so that was great.
I agree. I could have used more, personally, but...
There can always be more, but I mean, you'll have that with like a slow burn, and I do consider this a slow burn for sure.
Oh, 100%. There's some fences to be mended between the two of them.
Oh, yeah.
There's also a lot for them to work on internally in order to like continue their relationship. So yeah, it makes sense that it's a slow burn.
Yeah.
Well, considering that this is the Santa Pageant and that so much of this book is in fact about the Santa Pageant that they are a part of, which I will not give spoilers to anybody who hasn't read it yet. You have to wait to see if they win. I thought instead of our usual tit or tat game that we tend to play at the ends of these episodes, that we could do a little bit of Santa trivia.
Oh God, I'm so nervous.
Don't. And let me be clear, I did not come up with these questions. I have no way of fact checking these questions. These come from thoughtcatalog.com's article that's, we're not going to do all of these, but 45 plus Santa trivia questions for Christmas time.
Okay.
Who knew? There was so much to know.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's start with, what year was Santa born?
Oh my God.
I want to know who is the historian that was like, yes, of course, this was the time that Santa was born.
I have to, oh God, I couldn't even begin to tell you. Could not. I don't know.
I will tell you it's in AD, like it's not in BC time.
1300.
It's about 1100 years before that. So 270 AD apparently is what marks Santa's birth.
Okay.
Who knew?
He's an old dog.
It's still kicking. This one is a little more I will say like pop culture-y, but at the same time, I've never heard of this company. What soft drink company was the first to use Santa Claus in its advertising? And as I said, I've never heard of them.
I bet it was Frosty. No,
but that does seem like it should be, right? No, the company is
or Snowball.
White Rock Beverages.
Okay.
Do you know them?
Never heard
I
of
don't
that.
know it.
No.
Okay. Saint Nicholas is the patron saint of what?
Oh my gosh.
And let me tell
Does
you,
that mean
it's a weird collection of goods.
so he's the patron saint of 4 different things?
Apparently.
But like
That doesn't seem right. Can't there just be other saints to like spread things out on?
What are these things? Like the
Okay, I will say all 4, one of them, if you think about Santa, one of them makes perfect sense. The other
so
ones...
it's not so we are talking objects?
No. So all 4 of them are living, breathing beings.
Oh.
Think Santa.
Saint.
Think Santa.
Elves? I mean, or wait, are they animals? Are they animals?
Actually, there is an animal, but it's not reindeer. There is one that is an animal, but no, one of them is children.
Oh, sure. I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
But no, just get a load of the rest of these, because like the children one, I can wrap my brain around. You know, like would I have guessed it? No, I would have probably said like toys or gifts or something. He is also the patron saint of sailors.
What?
I don't know.
That is so weird.
Wolves.
Okay. Okay.
Like where does that fit in to like the Santa I don't know.
It does not.
This is my personal favorite. So sailors, children, wolves, and pawnbrokers.
What?
I just want to know.
That is the weirdest thing I have ever heard.
Who gets to decide? Who got to decide?
Right.
That
why do pawnbrokers need a patron saint?
That's all I'm saying. That is my big question is who got to decide that pawnbrokers of all the groups of people in the world got to have their own saint? I mean, maybe not their own. They have to share them with wolves and kids and sailors. Like
wolves and kids. Wow, that's random.
Yeah, I thought you might appreciate that one.
Wow.
Okay. In what 2 countries is Santa known as Père Noël?
France.
That's one.
The other one, I would guess Belgium.
Oh my God, yes! Go you!
Go me!
Yes, I only knew France because I took French in high school, but I don't think I would have guessed Belgium, so go you.
Well, Belgium I feel like it has a lot of French influence.
Yeah, there's definitely some overlap of the words too, for sure. Okay, what is Santa called in the United Kingdom? I feel like he's called more than one thing.
I think so too. I mean, I would guess Saint Nick or Saint Nicholas or possibly Father Christmas.
They have Father Christmas as the answer, but I feel like there's multiple options for that. So take that thought catalog. This is one about his name. What do they call Santa Claus in Italy?
Oh.
I like this too. I like this name.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know if I'm going to say it correctly, but Babbo Natale.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, Babbo. What's up, Babbo Natale? Like, that's like fun. That. Okay, this one's fascinating, and I would love to know all the details about it, and if they haven't already made a Hallmark Christmas movie about it, I think they should. In what year did NORAD, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, first track Santa on Christmas Eve?
Oh, gosh.
I used to check that all the time growing up.
Probably in the 50s or the 60s, I would have to say.
You are correct. It is in one of those decades.
Okay. I'm going to say 67.
It is 1955.
Oh, 55. Oh my gosh. That's way earlier than I would have thought.
I have to say, I'm very impressed that we had the ability to do that. Well, I mean, I guess in my mind, I'm thinking of when I think of looking up where's Santa on NORAD, like you can do it on a computer. And I'm sure you just at the time, you couldn't do it from home. Like it would have had to be like, I don't know, they say something over the radio, who knows? But
yeah, it would have been like a radio thing.
Right. Santa's over Wisconsin.
You know what? I actually remember, wasn't there a scene of that in A Christmas Story?
Maybe.
No, that can't be. You know what? It wasn't from NORAD though. There was a scene of that, but that movie was set in like the 30s, so that didn't check out.
They do, by the way, have a bunch of questions about A Christmas Story in this list.
That's what you should have hit me with. That's one of my favorite movies.
Okay, I can give you a couple of those. But if it's one of your favorites, I feel like this is going to be really easy. What did Ralphie want Santa Claus to bring him in the 1983 movie A Christmas Story?
Do I have to get it completely right? Well, it was a Red Ryder BB gun, but I mean, like, you know.
That's all they had.
Yeah. Good. I don't think I can remember the full name.
His whole list of like all the things that he wants for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I've got one more A Christmas Story question for you.
Okay.
Oh, no, this one's really easy, but what does Santa tell Ralphie when he asks for a Red Ryder BB gun in A Christmas Story?
You'll shoot your eye out.
Yeah. That's what they all tell him.
I love that movie.
Oh, God. Okay, just a couple more for you. This one I could 100% get on board with. What do Swedish children leave for Santa Claus?
Swedish children. Meatballs. That's so dumb.
Going IKEA on their asses.
I can't think of anything Swedish right now except meatballs, which is freaking ridiculous. I don't know.
It's coffee.
Oh, that's so sweet.
That's
so thoughtful.
That. Yeah, like out of all the holiday traditions and like lore that I've read from places around the world. In fact, I will see if I can find it. But a few years ago, I wrote an article that was about holiday traditions from around the world, and there are some wild ones out there, but coffee is one of the sweeter options.
Yeah,
I like
that's
that.
literally so kind. Kind.
And then the last one that I have for you is, can you name the original 8 reindeer that pull Santa's sleigh? So, and the only reason it's the original 8 is they're excluding Rudolph.
Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen.
You did that like so easily. Like that's a little scary that you knew that well. And in the order, no less. Like, I feel like the reindeer are similar in how I think of the dwarves from Snow White, in that I feel like there's always one that I forget about. And
well, it's like you have to understand, like, I've been reading the night before Christmas to my kids on Christmas Eve every night for like 17 years.
So that's not going anywhere. Like, that's in your head forever.
Remember, on Dasher, on Dancer, on Comet, or you know what I mean? So yeah, that's why I know it.
Dang. Well done you. I mean, that's some like Jeopardy kind of knowledge. Like, you know that they're gonna ask somebody that. It's true. Like, people on Jeopardy, they will know the most wild things, but then like they won't know the reindeer. And I'm just like, what? Right. What? Your mom didn't read it to you, did she?
Right.
Well done. You've conquered Santa.
Thank
you.
You
finished it. You finished Santa trivia.
Yeah. I'm say I conquered.
You did pretty well.
I came in middle of the road.
You got
a 50%.
Yeah, you got France and Belgium. You got all of your A Christmas Story. You know your reindeer. So
I do know my reindeer.
Well, I hope everybody listening is playing at home or in the car, or now you have a tidbit to take with you to the work party this year. That just about does it for us. So, Amanda, thank you so much for coming back. You know I always love chatting with you.
Yes, thank you.
And Merry Boobsmas to you. Merry Boobsmas to all. There's only one thing left for us to do, and that is to say, on the 9th day of Boobsmas, my lover gave to me 9 naughty spankings. Crushed it.
On the 9th day of Boobsmas, my lover gave to me 9 naughty spankings, 8 rock hard abs, 7 minutes in heaven, 6 billionaires.